Yo, 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 how's it going, everyone? My name's Feedaboi. I am a Grandmasters Kled main on the North American server. I have peaked at around 300 LP Grandmaster in Season 9, and I am looking to go into Season 10 with a really good mental and getting to Challenger, obviously. That's like the main goal. But, yeah. But enough rambling about myself, honestly, for this video. This video is all about the Kled rune pages and what I personally think are the best runes going into Season 10 for Kled. I'm going to be doing rune pages both for top lane and for mid lane Kled, since mid lane has become a lot more popular in the preseason. So I'll go over both just in case for people who main mid now. So yeah. So let's just get started with the top lane runes. Oops, I don't know why my cam did that for a sec. But yeah, I'm just going to move the cam. Okay. So yeah. I'm just going to make it... Actually, I have the first rune page already made. This is like the most standard one, which is the Conqueror into Sorcery page. Basically, this page is really good for Kled in matchups where you know you're either going to go even in lane or you'll possibly win the lane. Since, like, say you're against a... Let's say Aatrox, for example. You don't really need to go super defensive in your tree, because you know he's not going to be able to, like, just hard shit on you. Say, like, a Jaxwood or something like that. So I feel like with Sorcery, it gives you a better scaling option, along with, like, the capability that you still are going to be able to, like, lane against your lane opponent. So you don't really need to actually go for, say, a Resolve tree or a Domination tree, even though they also are decent options. But, yeah, with Sorcery, as I mentioned, it gives you better scaling with the Gathering Storm and Transcendence. And CDR just feels really nice and Kled to begin with. So, yeah, the Transcendence there was just really nice. But just the most standard runes, like, even before you get into the secondary trees, these are, like, the ones that usually go. So, I would always usually go Conquer. The only time I ever go PTA on Kled is if their comp is, like, really squishy. Say they have, like, 2 or 3 marksmen on their team. And their jungle and support are also, like, say they have like a mage support and a mage jungle, not a mage jungle, but like say like a Nidalee jungle or something like that, where you know you're just gonna be able to burst them and they're not gonna like stack a ton of armor. PTA is definitely good for those scenarios, but like against comps that have like bruisers or tanks, I feel like Conquer's just a better option. So yeah, so I usually go Conquer. I always go Triumph. I just feel like the other two, they're not bad, it's just you don't really need them. Like Presence of Mind is kind of, well, Presence of Mind's literally just useless, but Overheal, I guess you could go it if you're going like a lifesteal build, but like for the most part I feel like lifesteal builds aren't that good on Kled. So yeah, so I always go Triumph. And then this tree, so the Alacrity and Tenacity tree, I personally like Alacrity a lot, since like the attack speed just feels really nice on Kled. But my mentality towards Alacrity and Tenacity is, if they have 2 or more champions that have hard CC on their team, Tenacity is just straight up better. Just because, like, although, yeah, in lane, Alacrity will feel a lot better. As the game progresses, if you're against, like, a heavy CC comp, you're just going to be useless later on in the game in, like, team fights and stuff. Because you're going to be the main engage for your team. So, actually going in team fights, if you're against a heavy CC comp, you'll just get perma-CC'd, so you won't be able to get your damage off anyways. So, say you have Tenacity in your runes. Although you still will be getting CC'd a decent amount, it won't be as, like, harsh against you, so you'll still be able to get some damage output. And if you like a tankier build along with the Tenacity tree, say like a Black Cleaver, Titanic, and Starax, you can actually do some pretty good work on their team. So yeah, it's just the mentality. If they have 2 or less heavy CC champions, you can go with Alacrity if you want. And yeah, if they have 2 or more, like a lot of CC on their team, 2 or more heavy CC champions, I'd recommend going Tenacity. And then for Last Stand and Coup de Grace, I like Coup de Grace against like squishier comps or just comps that have executes. Say you're against like a Garen top, for example. If you go Last Stand, as soon as you get dismounted and Last Stand actually procs, you're basically going to get one shot anyways with his ulti. So against champions that have like executes, it's not really worth it to take Last Stand, because you're not always going to be guaranteed to do damage when you're dismounted. You're usually going to either have to reset or just hope to God that your team can peel you. So, yeah. So, against, like, squishy comps or just comps that have executes, I'd usually go Coup de Grace. But against comps that are just, like, bruisers or just champions that don't really have an execute or a ton of CC, I'd say go Last Stand. It's a really good option for when you're dismounted. Cut down's just there. You don't need it. It's literally just useless, since, like, with Kled with your double HP bar, you're going to have more HP than most champions in the game usually, so cut down really does nothing for you. So yeah, so my standard one is Conquer, Triumph, usually Tenacity, but Alacrity is also pretty good, as I mentioned, and then usually Last Stand, but sometimes Coup de Grace. So yeah, so those are the main ones, as I mentioned. And then, as I mentioned, the Sorcery Tree is really, really good for scaling and against matchups where you know you're not going to fall too far behind. And then you can also go the Resolve route, which is Demolish with either Second Wind or Bone Plating. I personally like Second Wind a lot better than Bone Plating, just because like with Bone Plating you can get abused a lot. Like say you're against like a Riven, all they have to do is just auto attack you once to proc that Bone Plating, disengage, and then as soon as their CDs are back up, you just go back in on you, since Bone Plating is a 45-second CD. So it's not like it's always going to be up for free trades. So I feel like although it can be good, I just feel like it's not that worth it. At least with Second Wind, it's always going to be up. And along with that, it also scales really, really well with Kled, because it scales with your full HP, like both your HP bars. So when you're dismounted especially, you're going to get insane health regen. Like, I've had games where I literally, like, level 5, if I just go, like, Longsword 3-pot, I'm getting, like, 10 to 15 regen per second when I'm dismounted as Kled. So I'm literally almost always at, like, 100% off Scarl for HP. So, like, around, like, 40% of your actual HP. So it just helps a lot with rebounding and stuff for disengaging fights. And then making sure you're not always going to be really, really low for fights. But, yeah, but the Resolve Tree, as I mentioned, it's a lot more for laning. Just because, like, these ones, especially like Second Wind and Bone Plating, are all about just trading and all-ins and stuff like that in lane. And then Demolish is also just a really, really good split push option, or just in lane option to get free plates. And also it scales really, really well with your max HP. Since, yeah, the Demolish damage is based off your max HP, along with like just your base amount of AD damage and the base damage from Demolish. So it just scales really, really well for taking down turrets. And yeah. And then the third rune page that you can go for a secondary is Domination, obviously. I personally don't really like Domination that much. The only time I ever go it is if I'm against like a really, really squishy comp. So say I'm against like a Vayne top or something. Or like Sun Impact is really, really good against those champions where you know they're gonna have like no base armor. Even in the mid lane, it's not too bad. But yeah, if you are gonna go Domination, as I mentioned, you would go like Sun Impact with their Eyeball Collection, or I guess you could go Ravenous Hunter, but I feel like it's not even that good since it's only off healing on your abilities. And most of the time, the only ability you're really gonna have to hit in fights are your Q and E, because like you can use your W for it, but like it's like a 17-second CD, so it's not like super efficient. So usually I like to like this is more of like a snowball-y page for me, so I usually go Sun Impact with Eyeball Collection, since the more kills you rack up or even assist on champions, it gives you more adaptive force. So it's just really, really good with snowballing early on if you know you can take over the game. So yeah, this is like more of my aggressive early game page. And then for these runes, I always just go double adaptive force, and I either change it to MR or armor. Sometimes I go HP, but for the most part it's either armor or MR, just depending on the matchup. But yeah. Also, one last thing I forgot to mention with the sorcery page, if you're against like a heavy AP comp, I usually would just go nullifying its Transcendence and then just get rid of the Gathering Storm. You also could do nullifying with Gathering Storm, but I feel like Transcendence is just really, really good, and it's like it's more worth it to take than Gathering Storm. But I mean, you can do Gathering if you want, but yeah. So those are like all the top lane rune pages. And now for the mid lane rune pages. For the most part, I usually go Sorcery, but I usually go this. I go Transcendence with Water Walking, since with Kled mid, you can usually get Prio in lane, and once you get your T-Mat, you can just shove in the wave and then just roam either bot or top lane, just depending on which lane looks more gankable. And with Water Walking, you can just get between the lanes really, really fast, and also it's really good for like river fights. So say your jungler needs Prio for you, and you get Prio for him, you can just contest scuttles and stuff really, really easily, and you'll get a lot of AD and also the move speed, which is just really, really nice. So I like it a lot, since like, as I mentioned, my playstyle is more of like a roamy playstyle when I play mid lane. So I feel like Water Walking is really, really good. And as I mentioned earlier, Transcendence is also just a really, really strong tree. But yeah, if they're really, really heavy AP though, as I mentioned, I would probably just get rid of the Water Walking and just stick with the Nullifying and Transcendence rune. And for the most part, they're usually AP champs, so I just do the MR. So yeah, so that could just be like a standard page for mid lane against like say they have like an Ari mid, an Elise jungle, and like a brand support or something. So they just have a lot of AP damage. So I'd usually just go something like this instead and just get rid of the water walking. But if they don't have a ton of AP on their team and you're not really scared of their magic damage, I really like the Transcendence with water walking. I don't really go any other page on mid lane. Like, I guess you could do this page again, like the Demolish Second Wind. But for the most part, with mid lane, I feel like you want to roam a lot. So I feel like going Demolish isn't like super worth it since you're not going to be in lane as much. But yeah, those are all of the rune pages that I've been recently taking on Season 10. As I mentioned, the first rune page that I shown is my favorite one, which is the Conquer, Triumph, Tenacity, Last Stand, and then the Transcendence and Gathering Storm. But yeah, I hope this video helped you guys with like the runes for Season 10 on Kled. And yeah, and let me know in the comments down below actually if you like these type of videos and if you want to have like see more of these, because I've actually been thinking about doing matchup guides. So say matchups like Jax versus Kled, or like Kled versus Jax, Kled versus Fiora, and like matchups like that are pretty hard. So yeah, so just let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought about this video and if you guys would like to see matchup videos like that in the future. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And yeah, until next time, take it easy everyone. Peace.